At the Farber Center, there is a substance abuse event going on, a speaking event, I should say, on June 17th, right here in the Greater West Bloomfield area. And join us here on the Splash Live to talk about it. Director of the Daniel B. Sobel Friendship House, we have Rabbi Benny Greenwald. Thank you so much for joining us on the Splash, Rabbi.
Thank you so much, Kevin and Tyler. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time first and foremost. Now, we're talking about what lies beneath treating the trauma underlying substance abuse. Monday, June 17th. Can you first tell us a little bit more about this event overall?
Great. Great question. So the question is when we see a family member or a friend, coworker, or find in ourselves that we're struggling with substance use, the question is what's causing it? Many times we think about party drugs, drinking for socially, and that's, it's life. But then there's certain times when it takes over our lives. And the question is, what's causing that? Is it just boredom or there's something beneath? And usually there's something deep going inside of us that's causing us to try to numb out. And that's what we'll be discussing over here is past trauma. Trauma, sometimes we think about big traumas, like what we call them big T's, the big ones. But then there's those small little traumas that accumulate throughout our lives,
Right.
and that we trying to run away from that pain, and even if it's subconsciously. And that's what we'll be discussing about, trying to identify and how can we work on these traumas. That way we could find better coping mechanisms to live a happy and healthy life.
Thank you for providing that insight behind this event. And yes, a lot of people in some cases do just look at the surface level of things and just see that they are, going through substance abuse and not thinking about the root. Why? What's the cause? How can we stop this and get down to the problem of it? What's the actual trauma dealing with it? So thank you for providing that clarity on that. Now, I see the discussion will be led by Chantel Thomas, PhD, Executive Clinical Director at Winrose Recovery. Can you just talk a little bit more about Dr. Thomas and just give more background to her expertise, please?
Yeah, great. So I got to know Dr. Thomas through at the Friendship House where I work, which is a division of the Friendship Circle. We provide a lot of referrals for people because the Friendship House is a community of people in recovery. I'm not a therapist, I'm a rabbi and a chaplain, and I work very closely with therapists to create our beautiful recovery community. But obviously, there are times when people need to go for inpatient or outpatient. So I try to visit the locations before I suggest someone go somewhere or do an intervention. I visit the location.
Right.
So I've been to Wisconsin to visit the manor because I knew some people that went through their program, and I met Dr. Thomas there, and I spoke to her about her philosophy and how she runs her practice, and I was really impressed with her not getting tied down with the surface level things, but really to getting to the root problem, which causes deep pain, which also when we deal with that causes deep recovery as well. So I got to know her through that, and she does a lot of work on trauma and the effect of trauma how it displays throughout the rest of our lives.
Got you. Okay. So, and that's very, very important to provide someone who has that type of background, that type of knowledge, so that people can kind of trust in their words and their knowledge and their guidance when it comes to events like this. So, thank you for
Mhm.
providing that background, Rabbi. I also want to inquire. A lot of events can happen and do happen in the Greater West Bloomfield area, but not all of them are very impactful or as important, I would say. But why do you
Mhm.
feel like an event like this is important to our community at this time?
Because this is the human condition. We all suffer. See, addiction, sometimes we look at it, or substance use sometimes we look at people out there. But the truth is, we all have inside of us things that are holding us back from being the people we want to really be. Every human
Good
being
point.
that I know of has things that are holding us back, consciously or subconsciously. So even if, we're not a full blown, addict, or suffering from substance use disorder. We could all identify with those feelings. And what's beautiful is that when we identify with those feelings, we start looking at the people in our lives who are suffering in a different light. We could really treat them with empathy rather than judgment. And I think this is important because we all know someone suffering. I try to tell people, I
Mm-hmm.
believe this, that if you don't know anyone suffering from substance use disorder or alcoholism or addiction, then you don't know anyone. So we all have people in our sphere
Mm.
of influence that this does affect. And many of us have a lot of these feelings inside of ourselves, feelings of things that happened in our lives before that are holding us back. So I think this talks to a wide audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. And that's exactly what I'm talking about, because we all need to kind of look at each other past that surface level point, because we all have that within us. And it should be no judgment. If you see someone who needs help, you should try to help them. And I'm glad
Mhm.
you explained it the way that you did, way better than I did. Join us here
No,
on the
I don't know
Splash
about that.
Live, director of the Daniel B. Sobel Friendship House, Rabbi Benny Greenwald, talking about the what lies beneath, treating the trauma underlying substance abuse event. That'll be Monday, June 17th, 6:30 to 8 p.m. And once again, can you give additional information, registration, any cost to attend this, just type of information regarding the event and how to attend for attendees?
Great. The event is free for the whole community. If you are a social worker and you would like to get CEUs, continuous educational credits, we provide 1.5
Mm,
CEUs for that. If you're not a social worker, we could give it
mm.
to you. You know, you don't need those, but I'm happy to give you a certificate anyhow. To sign up, the
All right.
easiest way would be to shoot an email and I'll send you the link. So you could send an email to Benny, which is BENNY at friendshipcircle.org. Again, it's Benny, BENNY at friendshipcircle.org.
Thank you so much for providing that additional information. And one last thing before we go. I mean, do you have any additional information that we may not have covered? Or what would you want the audience or the attendees to take away from attending this event when they leave?
So, good question. I'll tell you what I would like to everyone to take away when they leave, but even if you don't show up, something to remember is that we are
Mm-hmm.
all worth fighting for. We are all special. We are all, this tonight starts a Jewish holiday of Shavuot, where the Jews and were given the Torah, the Bible, on Mount Sinai, the Ten Commandments, and in it there's these commandments that tell us that we all matter, the sanctity of human life and the sanctity of our lives, and to remember that we all, no matter what we've gone through, no matter what we've done, we deserve a fighting chance. And we should remember that
Thank
there
you.
are people around us that want to fight with us.
Yes. Yes, yes. No, no, you were spot on. I didn't even want to cut you off, Rabbi, but it felt like you were speaking to me at that moment, because we are literally all going through something at any given time. So have some type of empathy, have some compassion, and then check out events like this. What lies beneath? Treating the trauma underlying substance abuse, June 17th. Thank you so much again, Rabbi Benny Greenwald, director of the Daniel B. Sobel Friendship House. We appreciate you.
Thank you, Kevin. God bless you.